I'm not sure what camera I'm looking at. I don't actually use the iPad very often, but here we go. All right, so I just wanted to kind of do a little quickie today because I thought something very interesting happened the other day. Well, I guess it's not really all that interesting. As we all know, there's plenty of assholes on the internet, and we see articles and stuff like that every day on bullying and all the kind of garbage. And that's actually one of the reasons why at Skycron we don't have Instagram anymore. We don't have Facebook. We don't have Twitter. We don't have any of that. It's vaped. Like, we don't have any of those accounts anymore at all. The only official account for Skycron at all is this one. This YouTube channel, it is the only official account. I am the owner. I am the CEO for Go Nitro. And that is just sort of how we roll things here. I'm pretty happy with YouTube as it stands. I've met some fantastic people. I enjoy following, people like Tefty and Memes and the 8-Bit Guy and and Lewis Rossman and all those kinds of people. And I think one of the things that, as I say, you see in the news, there's a lot of trolling. And, every so often on the Skycron channel, we get the odd little bit of trolling. We've actually been pretty lucky. Even when I post stuff that I know is kind of, rattling the cage a little bit, all in good fun, of course, we don't really get, and I don't really get a whole lot of nasty comments. There's a few, and I'm certainly used to them. But I kind of wanted to take a minute today and just talk about one of the things that I talk about in my television videos, because I work in television and that's what I do, and I do have a television show that runs in syndication across the United States, Go Nitro, NBC, ABC, CBS, major stations in major markets. And one of the things that I always talk about in my videos is how it's important to think about the person that you're actually providing your content to. And I thought this was kind of an interesting teachable moment here. Not something that really bothered me, but it's something that I on some Schadenfreude level is kind of amusing to me. I'm human, what can I say? And I thought it was a good case study as to why you should really be careful before running your mouth on the internet. I know people are not careful and they run their mouth, and people are so brazen. They'll often write shit and they'll put their real name. And I don't really care, but it's always interesting to see it blow up. And I think this is a good case study. So there is a very popular video that I posted quite some time ago that for content creators that are trying to deliver stuff to television, that basically shows them how to deliver a proper MXF file. And the MXF files are the special files that are used for broadcasting for pretty much every network around the world. That has sort of replaced Betacam SP and 1-inch and DVCam and all the various types of tapes. Anyway, there's been the odd little bit of flaming because I look young for my age. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm a lot older than I look. Usually people are about 15 years off. But suffice to say, I have been around in the days of tape. I've been around when, there was Betacam SP tape, 1-inch, U-matic, you name it. So I've been around the block a few times, and one of the things that I like to do is sort of keep things positive. But every so often you get these kind of crusty old school types. Most people are really positive, and those are the people that I try to associate with. Most of the master control people and the master control techs that I deal with are awesome. And this is one of the reasons why I'm always saying these are the people that put your show on the air and make it look good. So make it easy for them, right? Because even if they're using an automated tool to do quality control and they're running it through Iris or whatever, just be considerate, and there's no reason to do a crappy job on your own show. It makes everybody's life easier. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So I've had a few, well, that's not the way it works, and I caught you, with your pants down and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. I've done this long enough, and I'm, not to be arrogant or anything, but, my show's on a bunch of major U.S. networks, so I don't feel that I need to prove anything to anybody. Anyway, but I'm in Canada, so Skycron is based in Canada. We are a Canadian company, so we do English and French language content. And so anyway, this guy came on a few days ago, and he completely missed the point of the video, did not watch it, obviously decided to fixate on the idea that, you know, essentially that I'm saying it's a good idea to turn around and do a good job, you know, make sure that your files are correct and everything, so that it doesn't keep having to go into the queue again and again and again and again and again because it's wrong. Now, just like every profession, there's good apples and there's bad apples. And I would say that 99% of the people that I've run into in master control, and I've also had to go into master control myself many times in my network television days, you know, are great. But like any profession, there are bad apples, and you get these crusty guys that are a problem. But if you are going to troll, don't use your real name so that you can be tracked. If you think the television industry in the United States is small, which it is, because everybody knows everybody, Europe, like England, whatever, and the United States and Canada, it's very, very small. It's close-knit. Everybody knows everybody, and anybody that you deal with, I guarantee you they're going to be friends or know somebody, you know, within 5 degrees of separation. It doesn't matter whether you're in Canada or the United States or whatever. Anyway, if you are going to troll, don't use your full name. Just don't. If you absolutely must do this, because it doesn't make you look good. Anyway, so this guy decided that he was going to dump on and say, oh, I caught you with your pants down, and it doesn't really matter. You know, all this stuff is automated at major networks anyway, and blah, blah, blah. I never said that the quality control systems were not automated. They are automated, but there is still a master control operator that gets the stuff on the docket. They have to, you know, run it through QC, and it makes their days a little longer, right? If you bring in stuff that's wrong, it's going to take a little longer. Yes, the computer's doing the work for you, but there's still times that you have to do a manual override. Anyway, this guy, this wasn't really something that he just, I guess he, for whatever reason, he, you know, it's a tough gig doing television in Canada, and you get some of these crusty guys that, you know, are just have a, for lack of a better term, don't have an attitude that I would consider conducive to television, which I find unfortunate. You know, we're fortunate enough that we get to work in a field that gets to produce entertainment for people and make people happy. And yeah, it's a job, and things are sometimes frustrating, but by and large, it beats flipping burgers. No disrespect to anybody flipping burgers, but I'm happy to do this, and I try as much as I can to think positive. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This is where I was saying where things are small. So while this guy is arguing, and by the way, all the comments on Skycron are moderated, so I can decide whether I make them public. So if people are trolling or whatever, a lot of the time, if I don't feel it adds a constructive element to a discussion or helps anybody, then I oftentimes just won't make it public. So I thought I would make this guy's stuff public. Just, you know, it's like, okay, well, you want to address this, then that's fine. But he was more interested in just being angry and being non-constructive and trying to argue a point that was not made in the video. So I felt that it was important that people see that. But he signed his real name. His real name was in his avatar. And here's where, and I was reasonably polite with the guy. I got a little catty. I'm human. And it turns out that the guy is actually at a station that I have friends at, and that some of my colleagues have also worked with. So this is a guy that I actually knew between two or three steps of separation, not even. And after 2 or 3 comments back and forth, you know, just trying to turn it into a teachable moment, the guy completely vaporized his comments and he deleted it. Because I am well known here. People know who I am. My personality is well known. And he realized, and again, this is why it's really important to realize who you're talking about and who you're talking to. It's not easy to get jobs in television. It's very competitive. You know, everybody knows everybody. So when you go running your mouth and you're going to attach your name to it, You don't really want to be running your mouth. First of all, at least be right. That's the main thing. At least be right. But if you're going to be an asshole, don't sign your name to it. And he probably made one or two quick calls or a Google search, and then he realized that he was pretty well directly connected to me in the industry through one or two colleagues, and he probably felt like a complete idiot. And so he just deleted his comments. And this is why I say it's really important to think about who you're talking to when you write comments, because you never know who's paying attention. You never know who's listening. You never know who's judging you, particularly when you can see my face. You might not know my name because I don't put my name on every single thing. You'd have to Google the company because that's what the YouTube channel is under. But it never really pays to be a jerk, because eventually it's going to catch up with you. And I've been in this business probably about 20 years now, depending on how you want to count it. So I've been doing this a long time. I'm still here, and I'm paying the bills with what I love doing. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have a disagreement with somebody. It doesn't mean that you can't have a spirited disagreement with somebody. But it does mean that if you're going to troll, and you really, particularly in a niche industry, in a niche topic, just be careful who you talk to. Be careful what you say. Think before you speak. And I think that this is something that people get so used to saying whatever the hell they want on the internet without any repercussion that they actually forget that there is somebody else on the other side of that screen that can see you, that can find you, right? Especially if you're in it, because everybody knows everybody. I don't mean it in a creepy, I'm going to get you kind of way. Just in a niche industry, people are going to know each other. So if you're a dickhead, it's going to get around. It's going to make it more difficult for you to find work or maintain the employment that you have. That isn't to say that there isn't a whole lot of, what I would consider witch hunts and stuff like that online, which is a completely different topic for another day. But I'm just talking basic. If you're going to be an asshole, think about what you're going to say. Don't use a real name. Or better yet, don't be an asshole at all. Why not be positive and contribute to knowledge for everybody? The reason that I enjoy doing these tutorials, which I don't have to do, I have a day job. I have to produce an episode of Go Nitro and other shows and TV commercials and corporates and stuff every week. So I'm busy, and I have a crew and we have stuff to put out. I don't have to do this, but I enjoy doing it. It makes me feel good to do tutorials on how to put together MXF tutorials in a simple way, so that if you're, say, a YouTube creator and you have the opportunity to put something on television, then now you know how to do that. And now you know how to set it up in such a way that it's not going to get sent back and you're not going to be frustrated. This is why I do it. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing things about music and stuff when I do film and television composition. I enjoy doing it. I don't have to go and do this. I don't intend to stop. I think that most people are fantastic, and I don't mind if somebody has a difference of opinion, and it really doesn't bother me if somebody trolls me, which some might turn around and say, well, if you went and made a video about it, then obviously it must bother you on some level. What I would like is, I think, positivity, without sounding eye-rolling about it. The beautiful thing about YouTube and the internet in general is that you can learn anything. You can learn anything without ever having to step foot into a classroom. But I think that this whole thing with, people that are in your industry, I think it's a good reminder. This is a good example of a reminder to, as Will Wheaton would put it, don't be a dick. Think about who you're talking to and try to imagine the emotions of the person on the other side. Or at the very least, in terms of self-preservation, think about who you might be pissing off. Because you never know if they're going to be your boss, particularly in this business, because everything kind of tends to go in a circle. So don't be surprised if they wind up being your boss, because you never know if they're going to be your boss. You never know if they're going to, be working with you or you're going to be working with them. You just don't know. And people have long memories. And so if you're going to go and shoot your mouth off, think first. You never know if somebody's having a bad day. You just don't know. And if you screw up, just apologize. I know a lot of people won't do that, but I just sort of wanted to basically use this as a little PSA because I thought it was a good teachable moment as a little PSA as, to what can happen if you don't think about what you say and you don't think about who you're saying it to, right? You've got a guy who, I don't blame him, maybe he was having a bad day, but he's somebody that is a friend of a friend and didn't realize who he was talking to because he heard a voice and he didn't actually see my face on this particular, and he made himself look like an ass. I didn't need to do anything. I didn't need to say anything. And consequently, because he didn't want a trail of it, he deleted his comments. And that's fine. But it's better to think about it in the first place. We're fortunate, a lot of us, that we have been able to work in this industry and create content for a long time. YouTube is awesome. I really love it. And I think that positivity is something that's good, and I think that it's just important to think about what you say before you say it. I know people generally don't, and I don't think it's going to stop trolling, and I sure as hell don't think that everybody's going to sit around a campfire singing Kumbaya. I bring it up rather in a more practical way that, look, if you don't give a shit about how you come off, and you don't give a shit about how people think of you, and you just want to run your mouth, at least think about your own self-preservation. Even if you want to frame it in a selfish way, think about, is it going to affect my job? Is it going to affect my ability to get another job? Is it going to affect my reputation negatively in a way that any reasonable person, as opposed to a Karen, would say, wow, that guy's a real dick. And then a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or whatever, when their resume is sitting on your desk, that you go, you know what, fuck that guy. I'm not going to hire him. He's a prick. Whereas if you take it a minute or two to think about what you're going to say and maybe phrase it in a way that is a little bit more decent, let's say, as opposed to a troll, then that might not have happened. So this is Uncle Corey's little patronizing PSA for the day. And so on a slightly more positive note, I am going to be doing more of these sort of musical things. I have some new toys that are coming in that we are going to be testing for Go Nitro, and some of the other television series that we have coming on that are going to be coming to a television station near you, in the United States at least. And I think that some of that gear and equipment is some stuff that I haven't seen in reviews, so I'm going to try and touch upon that. So anyway, as always, if you enjoy the content that I have on the YouTube channel, please do hit that subscribe button. And until then, have a good one and go nuts.